So this is dinner in our house. This is my first cooking video. And I've never made something that's super, well, reputedly super simple. It's coq au vin. And that's a very basic French meal. Basically chicken and wine. Usually red wine. Sometimes you can make it with white wine. But I have got everything prepped and I'm trying to not make this video about 3.5 hours long. We have got all of our vegetables prepped, all of our mushrooms, bacon, pearl onions prepped. I am sipping a gin and tonic, so you're gonna have to bear with me. But the normal coq au vin recipe calls for onion, which we're not a big fan of, except the little pearl onions. But so I'm gonna substitute that with leeks. We've got 3 leeks sliced up. We've got 5 carrots sliced up. We have about 4 or 5 ounces of bacon, about a cup of pearl onions. We've also got some mushrooms, which I'm trying to remember what they are. They're oyster, cremini, and shiitake. And we've got some butter, flour, and on this side, not much else, basic stuff really. Of course, you can't really make coq au vin without the red vin. So we've got that, olive oil, thyme, salt, pepper, chicken broth, you know, usual stuff you've got kind of lying around. But yeah, so I'm gonna start cooking pretty soon. We got stuff warming up. Gonna serve it over egg noodles, but yolk-free egg noodles because I'm not a big fan of extra saturated fat where you don't really need them. So yeah, I'm fixing to get started and cook. Let's do it. Now, first things first is to saute some bacon because everything that's good starts with bacon. All right. So what we're gonna do, it's not really a one-pan recipe, unfortunately. Coq au vin really originated in rural France, I guess, early 20th century or something, but a lot of the recipes use an entire chicken, but my chicken breaking down skills are not all that great, so I just use chicken bits. We got some chicken legs and some chicken breasts, so it's barely going to take half an hour to cook once it's all in the pan, but it's not a one-pan recipe. There is a lot of removing. We will be removing the bacon after it's sauteed, then we'll be adding the chicken in, browning it in the bacon fat, and then removing the chicken as well. And that's really just to give us room to start each different section of the recipe off in the same pan. But you are going to need multiple pans, so just know that. But just browning my bacon. That's great enough. We're not really trying to get crispy bacon here, so you could do this with pancetta as well, but who wants to pay for that? Bacon is just fine. So we're going to use a slotted spoon, by the way, because the bacon fat is going to be the vehicle for sauteing everything else, and that's what's going to give it flavor. So we're going to reserve the bacon on the side, and we'll be doing just the same with the chicken bits in a slight minute here. That's your bacon. We got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 organic chicken legs, and I have some chicken breasts in the fridge as well, but because we're a white meat, dark meat household, but they take so little time to cook compared to chicken legs or whatever that we're just going to pat them dry and put the legs in the pan and get some nice color on them, just on the outside, and then remove them and let them rest with the bacon while we start building the rest of it. So we will stick those in. Skin side down first. just get them brown. Give them a little bit of salt and pepper on each side. Once they turn over, we'll do the other side. Turn them over. Some color going on there. Again, we're not cooking them, we're just browning them. So that's been about 6 or 7 minutes per side on the chicken, depending on how hot you have the pan. But as long as you got some color, it's really up to you how much color you want. But it does tend to spit at you. But I think we're about ready to remove this and start building our vegetables and red wine mixture. And again, the chicken breast will be going in separately later on because it takes so little time to cook. You don't want it to dry out. So we got chicken legs and bacon in that plate. I always like it when you're done with the meat and it gets to be the time to start building the sauce with the vegetables and the herbs and spices and stuff, because that's really what makes the dish. So we are at that point now where we're going to do our carrots and leeks. It would be carrots and onions, but we prefer leeks. So we're going to saute these for a little while with some salt, pepper, and let them get a little bit soft. Leeks are not used very often. I don't really know why. They're a great ingredient. If people are intolerant to onion or whatever, they're much kinder on the digestive system, and they kind of melt down into nothing and just add some flavor. So leeks, I love leeks, as long as you have the time and the willpower to actually rinse them properly, because they grow in very sandy soil. And every sheep will have a little bit of dirt in it. I'm going to do some salt and pepper. And this is all cooking in that original rendered bacon fat. So I'm sure you can imagine that that will be pretty good. And I'd saute these 5-10 minutes, depending on how softened you want them, before you actually start putting everything else in there. But we're just softening things so it doesn't take too long to simmer. And the whole house smells like bacon now, so. But we're talking about 10 minutes here, just to get these softened. Carrots you may find a little bit difficult to get cooked all the way. I do personally, I don't know why. Most recipes say your carrots are going to cook in 10-15 minutes. Mine's don't. It's usually 2 or 3 times that. So unless you want rock hard carrots, I tend to par cook them in the microwave. You might want to consider doing that too if you don't want super hard carrots. I cheat. Minced garlic in a jar, because ain't nobody got time for that. There we go. It's a very special kind of trifecta of cooking if you're involving leeks, butter, mushrooms, bacon fat, a little bit of browning going on. Don't be afraid of the brown stuff in the bottom of the pan. Especially if you're using the same pan and you're cooking vegetables in it after meat. That deglazes, it's all gone, it's all flavored, and it's all in the vegetables now. So we're starting to clear up around here. Vegetables are in, time for a little garlic. Again, I cheat, so it's minced garlic. Just for 1 minute, especially if it's not whole cloves or else they'll burn. That garlic's getting incorporated. That's good enough on the garlic. It is time to add back in all that bacon and all those chicken bits. Again, the chicken breast will be added eventually. But let's get stuff filled first. So. Nestle them in there. Turn your burner down if you have to, which I do. I'm really OCD about my placement, but we are well on our way to coq au vin. Don't overlook the vin. I think I've lost count of how many recipes actually start with bacon. It doesn't matter what ethnicity, what country, what origin, whether it's Spanish, French, British, American, Southern American. You better be prepared to have some bacon on hand. I have read that there's a spring dish that some people have made called coq au vin blanc, which instead of red wine uses white wine. Maybe in spring I might try that. So we have 1 cup of chicken broth, sodium level of your choice. So this is when I get excited because, you know, up until now it's like saute a bit, take it out, saute a bit, take it out. This is when I actually get excited because you're actually making a dish. And the original recipes, a lot of them call for fresh sprigs of thyme. This is approaching fall after a very severe summer. We don't have any fresh thyme, so we're using dried thyme. Do not use as much as it calls for with the fresh stuff because dried herbs are super potent. And they can actually add a weird sweetness and a weird herbiness. So just be careful. So I'm going to do probably 2 small palmfuls for a scientific guess on the thyme. I wish I had the fresh stuff, but I don't. And that will be quite enough. You don't want to blow your head off. I can't imagine what else we're going to put in there, so I suppose it will be time for some red wine. Usually calls for about half a bottle. I'm really bad at usually eyeballing things, so anyway, it's just a basic bottle of Bordeaux. You could do Bordeaux, you could do Burgundy. Really, it's usually important for it to be dry. You don't want something terribly sweet. But Cabernet Sauvignon's fine. Beaujolais would probably be fine. And then it becomes coq au vin. Not there yet. Not there yet. Really depends how much you want afterwards. I think that might do it. A little bit more salt and pepper, to my husband's dismay. And that's the base of the dish right there. So we've got our chicken legs in there and all the vegetables and a good deal of red wine, and we are going to simmer. I'm going to simmer these personally for 10-15 minutes. Depends what chicken bits, or if you're using a whole chicken, what you're actually putting in the pan. We're going to do about 10-15 minutes on a simmer, and then we'll start adding in some bits of chicken breast for the white meat lovers. So we're going to put a lid on this and set a timer for 10-12 minutes. So it's been 12 minutes. We have the oven heating up for whatever kind of bread you decide you want. But we have some separate chicken breast that I have cut up really, really roughly, somewhere between a whole breast and small chunks. And we're gonna go ahead and lift this lid and get this chicken breast nestled in there. Hot. Barely. Barely. Oh my god. Barely. I don't know what to do with this last piece. Does anybody have a dog? Alright, we might need to do some kind of construction work here. That bacon has browned really nicely in there. It's coming up from the bottom. And if you're doing this like me and you're adding bits of chicken after the fact, make sure and watch the heat you have it on, because anything super cold that you add into this, you're gonna need to turn the heat up to get it back to a simmer. And you know, sometimes I forget that. It is what it is. But we are looking okay for the chicken breast lovers amongst us. You are in safe space. I'm gonna simmer another 15 minutes. So, chicken breast has sauteed, or no, I'm sorry, not sauteed. Chicken breast has simmered with everything else for about 10-15 minutes. It doesn't take long. But we are at the point now where it's time to make a little butter and flour roux and put it in there, which will make our sauce a little bit thicker. You really just cream it together. I know creaming is generally a baking dessert term, but it can apply to anything really. Make sure I get all of this, or else we won't have a sauce. almost like little dumplings. I've made chicken and dumplings a few times, and it was amazing to me the very first time I made it that all the dumplings really constituted were flour, butter, water, and baking soda. So we have added some creamed butter and flour. I would just poke that in a little bit. We are at the point where it's time to saute the mushrooms. You can really use whatever kind of mushrooms you like. There are just basic button mushrooms. It's hard, at least in our area of the world, to get different kinds of mushrooms. Like cremini is what's usually used. Cremini mushrooms are not very common around here, so it's really just whatever you can get. Depending on how authentic you're wanting to be. But the idea is that the creamed butter and sugar, the idea is that the creamed butter and flour should make this whole stew a little bit thicker and a little bit more appealing. And we're gonna saute some mushrooms and get them added in as well. So it's time for some mushrooms and the pearl onions, which I have never used. This is the first recipe I have used that calls for pearl onions. They are hard to find. You can buy them fresh occasionally, but usually it's frozen. These ones are frozen. But this is one of the reasons I substituted the onion in the recipe for leeks, because we're already doing onions right at the end here. So drop them in just towards the end, and it's time to saute some mushrooms. Cover this again, let it go. Getting a very full pan, but that's okay. So we got a separate pan here with some melted butter, and then it's time to saute some mushrooms. They should brown up in about 5 minutes. You can use any kind of mushroom again. Everything is really, really flexible. And that's what I like about cooking. Rather than baking, baking's not flexible. If you don't have the exact thing and the exact amount, you're in trouble. For instance, bread or cakes, but cooking's a lot more forgiving. A little bit of splash of olive oil. Away we go. Mushrooms are so earthy. I don't cook with them very often. Certain members of our household tend to not like them very much, but I just had to with coq au vin. I've never made it before, so it's kind of a test, but so we've sauteed the mushrooms for 3-4 minutes. They don't take long. Be careful with them. And we're going to put them into the stew, the coq au vin. We already have our pearl onions in there. And we're going to simmer the whole thing for another 15-20 minutes, depending on the size of your bits of chicken. Make sure they're done. And ensure that your oven is heating up for whatever kind of bread of your choice. Garlic bread, French bread, Italian bread, I suppose, if you want to be atypical. Any kind of bread you want. I have picked up a good French crusty bread, and we are gonna simmer this whole thing under a lid and get it done. We are very full on this pan, but that's the way I like it. I think what we'll do for the last 10-15 minutes of this dish is simmer it with the lid off. That'll encourage some evaporation and get us a little bit of a thicker sauce. You can put this over whatever you want. Rice, pasta, egg noodles, mashed potatoes, I suppose. I have gone for egg noodles because basically I'm lusting after a good stroganoff, but this is not a stroganoff. But it's egg noodles for us today. So for us, it's egg noodle time, which is a new one on me. These ones are super wide. I guess that's super wide. I'm glad I didn't get the regular ones in that case, but we're gonna put an arbitrary amount in some boiling water and cook for about 11 minutes and put our bread in, and we will be there. Time to eat. Flour and butter tends to do some amazing things to whatever liquid you have in your pot. So it is thickening up, reducing down. You can simmer it with the lid off for the last 10-20 minutes or however long you have. That's what I've done. And after adding the mushrooms and the flour and butter that have been creamed, it really thickens it up, makes it ready for some noodles and some bread. I don't exactly know the scientific process that happens when you add some flour and butter to a liquid, but it tends to start to coat the back of a spoon just nicely. That's what you're looking for. I don't know about anybody else, but by the time I get done with a recipe, I kind of forget what I started with. But when you build on layers and layers and layers of flavor, you know, that's when it happens. We're done. Time to dish up. No yolk, egg noodles. Not bad. Good stuff. So that is coq au vin. Plenty of chicken, plenty of mushrooms, over some egg noodles. We are done. We're ready to eat. That is us. Cheers. Got the leftover red wine here. And I will put the recipe in the comments. All right, bye.